So the propaganda in America, we always talk about how we are the most powerful, how we are the most patriotic country, how we are the richest country in the world. Yet, when it comes to a pandemic, we received $1,200 per person. I didn't because I'm a college student. But in general, every adult received $1,200 per person for the duration of the entire crisis, while we saw countries like Canada receive per person $2,000 a month. So America, big, powerful, strong, rich, can't have universal health care, can't afford it. Somehow, these smaller countries can't have stimulus checks during the pandemic. Somehow, these smaller countries can. We cannot nationalize wages to make sure our economy doesn't collapse at the bottom. Somehow, other countries can. So in America, we see the same thing happening over and over and over again. And I see people from every walk of life pissed off about it. This crisis, COVID-19, where it is right now, is 100% caused by our government. People like to blame it on personal responsibility. I don't buy it that much. People that literally don't care about the pandemic at all are a very small minority. There are many people in this country that would be following pandemic protocols 100% if the government actually did their friggin' job and supported Americans. So many Americans love this country, but this country never proves that they love Americans. Over and over and over again. The old quote, ask what you can do for your country. I think it's time that people ask what the government can do for them. No matter how far right you are, how far left, frickin' Josh Hawley and Bernie Sanders came together to force any stimulus money to be involved with this bailout bill, this COVID bailout bill to get us into 2021. They had to come together. They pushed for $1,200 checks. Far right and far left coming together as, populist unifiers pushing for this money. And they couldn't even get $1,200. So it came out in the final bill to $600 per person, per adult, and, per kid. Oh boy, which is better than nothing. But still very, very, very disappointing. Elected Republicans said the deficit is the reason they don't want to help Americans. After Donald Trump, over the past 4 years, with the Republican tax cut, ran some of the highest deficits in American history, with little to no economic growth being attributed to that tax cut. $2 trillion for the wealthy, running huge deficits for no reason. Now it's a big issue to give money to Americans and run a deficit, because that money would be helping Americans and not simply helping the owners of that party. And for Democrats, their first bill, Nancy Pelosi, the key negotiator, her first bill was worth $3.1 trillion. She got beat up. She got destroyed. After this, if her approval rating doesn't take a hit, if her approval stays the same, that will be scary. $3.1 trillion turned to $2.8 trillion. That turned to 2.2, which turned to 1.8 to $1.2 trillion to $900 billion. She collapsed. That wasn't a negotiation. That was a total collapse. That was a total failure. And she should be ashamed of herself. And the Democratic Party needs to hold her accountable. They're not going to, but she is and she has been one of the biggest political liabilities of all time recently. And she has a 70% approval rating in the Democratic Party still. Okay, wait, just really quick before I talk about what's actually in the bill. I just want you to know. Okay, so Republicans held up this bill at multiple points. And guess which points of disagreement they had. So no argumentation was given at all to how much money was going to be given to the wealthy in a big slush fund. But what was a big point of argumentation is something like this. Draft language that includes a tax break for corporate meal expenses pushed by the White House. So this is a big stand Republicans took. Another big stand Republicans took. Where is the Elizabeth Warren tweet that I said yes to? Another big stand Republicans took was Ron, or whatever the hell, Johnson. Is it Ron Johnson? That senator, he held up the bill when it got to giving Americans direct stimulus. So Republicans wanted a big tax cut for CEOs to get their freaking martinis. And also, they wanted to hold up the bill to prevent Americans from getting direct stimulus. But all the money up to the top, literally, no issue at all. Another thing they wanted, which Elizabeth Warren helped fire back against. So Senator Pat Toomey from my home state, he was trying to include a clause that would say the Fed cannot directly help states. This would say the Fed cannot directly lend money to states, cities, and small businesses during emergencies. So that's the big stand Republicans took. When it came to giving money to Americans, when it came to the Fed helping Americans, small businesses, states, city, governments, when it came to that, when it came to giving even more tax cuts to the wealthy, that was where Republicans took their big stance. Amazing, right? Amazing. So what's in the bill? $600 to most adults, $600 per child. Democrats said it would include $284 billion into Paycheck Protection Program, small business loans. By the way, the first round of PPP loans went absolutely terribly. There was no oversight. This is another thing Republicans pushed for. They wanted no oversight for this program in the Small Business Administration. Some of this money went to corporations as a result. So money meant for small businesses to help them retain workers ended up going to big organizations like you probably heard of the LA Lakers. The big basketball team, $1 billion team, or how much are they worth now? I don't even know. But they got money meant for small businesses, millions of dollars. And some, in some situations, billions. So Paycheck Protection Program, hopefully there's oversight this time. This is something like AOC pushed for that did not get done. It would direct another $20 billion to small businesses and $15 billion to live event venues. It would add $30 or $300 federal unemployment supplement and temporarily keep in place pandemic-era programs that expanded unemployment insurance. So if your state has like a pandemic unemployment wing, you could still go to them if you get unemployed. Instead of $600 extra, it is now $300 extra per week. So they cut that in half. Some money was given to schools and colleges. It expands Pell Grants. I hate Pell Grants, by the way. Direct assistance into rental assistance. And it extends a federal eviction moratorium, which is good. Unspecified amount of time. So I don't know, 1, 2, 3 months. I don't know. I think they said the end of January, which is good for the people who are about to lose their homes. I think that's essentially why Bernie Sanders took the deal with $600 stimulus instead of $1,200. I saw people calling Bernie Sanders a sellout as a result of this. But I think he really just wanted to make sure that December 31st crisis did not happen and all these programs could smoothly be implemented until then. And like I said before, the deal came after a last-second fight over a Republican-backed provision that would have restricted the Federal Reserve's emergency lending powers. Why? They call it austerity. They call it responsible governing. It's bullshit. They want people at a point where they are struggling to survive no matter what. The biggest fear of these people is that Americans have any type of well-being whatsoever. So that's why they're so particular in how much money they give to the people. Because they know if, there's a certain middle ground there where you need to give people enough money to be content, but not enough to actually be comfortable. You always need people working and being on that edge in order for you to maintain power. And that's what they do perfectly. It's a line they walk. By the way, this language right here, as lawmakers finally reach a deal, the help comes too late for nearly 8 million people estimated to have, now here's the kicker right here, to have fallen into poverty. No one fell. They didn't fall, they were pushed there. They were stomped into poverty. Imagine seeing this statement. Progressives and some Republicans, I know Chuck Schumer came out for Bernie's $1,200 push because he needs to fend off AOC, of course. Yeah, too hungry to protest. Imagine if people in this country actually had money. That's why a general strike can only really happen if there are strong unions. Because if there's no unions, either through like co-determination with different branches, like all, male people or Amazon workers coming together, all, Walmart, Amazon workers, if they don't come together, if you can't make unions that are strong within certain branches of companies because they prevent them, if you can't have unions and you can't lift the quality of life and organization to a certain point, then you can never have something like a general strike. And that's what they want to prevent with all of these measures, no matter what. It's crazy. And Americans are watching as the entire world gets, $2,000 a month, $10,000 throughout a duration of 5 months. And they are saying, okay, either they see it and they realize how screwed up it is, or they take it. They sit down and take it, and they say, you know what, we do need to open up. We need to stop being babies, and we need to, if we get the virus, we get the virus. Because Americans have that, rugged, individualistic, poverty-driven, like, mindset, that Protestant work ethic. If you aren't working and scraping by for everything, then you really are being useless to society.